If you've ever opened your kitchen cabinet and had a Tupperware lid explosion, you're not alone. I'm Mark, a 20+ year kitchen design professional with now over 300 virtual design consultations under my belt, and I've heard every kitchen struggle out there. In this video, I'm diving into the most common questions that homeowners are asking. So let's jump in. How can you get more storage out of your kitchen? This is one of the biggest questions when planning a kitchen renovation. But it's actually the wrong question. Here's why. Storage space is finite. There's only so much of it. At some point, you will hit the ceiling of what's physically possible for your space, whether it's enough or not. The better question is, how can I maximize the storage space of my kitchen? You want your new kitchen to be more functional than the old one, and maximizing storage capacity is a large component of that. The new kitchen will need to focus on using cabinet options and layouts that store the things you plan to use often, meaning daily or weekly, the items that are occasional, monthly, and the rarely used items, say yearly. Sounds too easy. And it is easy. The trouble is that most homeowners never make a detailed inventory of those items and are left to figure it out at the worst possible time, when the kitchen is finished. Meaning they have all of these items stored without any intention. Intentional design is very important when it comes to maximizing storage. And this leads to frustration when using the space, as it feels like you still have storage needs. But in reality, the things are not stored in optimal locations and correct cabinet options. So to maximize the storage in your kitchen, thus making it feel like you have more storage, make a detailed inventory of your items, categorize them like I mentioned before, and then find the most accessible, efficient cabinet options for their placement. This will definitely help you with your finite storage issues because of the intentional effort you put into its planning. If you're working with a designer, this should be an area of focus. And this is why I offer a professional online design solution. My lead designer, Anne-Marie, spends hours with our clients making sure that their kitchens are designed not only to high standards, but also to the specific needs of the homeowner, the one who will actually be using the kitchen. Check out the link in the description of this video for details about that. Now, part B of this answer is you just have too much stuff, and you don't really need all of it. So a little decluttering will go a long way into helping with your storage needs. The next question goes hand in hand with the need for storage, and is usually tied for the top question that homeowners ask. How can I get more counter space in my kitchen? Counter space is a precious commodity in a new kitchen and will be determined by layout, appliances, the overall size and space, and of course your storage needs. Many homeowners look to adding an island or peninsula as a great way to add counter space, and this would be the first thing I would look to do as well. However, it's not always possible due to spacing issues, and there are other ways. You may have tall units like pantries and oven cabinets or appliance garages that take up the same space that countertop would otherwise be taking. Balancing storage needs and counter needs is a big part of the planning of a kitchen. For example, is a pantry cabinet more valuable than the extra counter space you would gain by not having it? That's a tough question, and one that only you can answer. These are some of the trade-offs that you'll face when renovating your kitchen. At the very least, you should be following the NKBA guidelines for countertop prep areas and landing zones, and this will at least ensure that you have enough countertop space to be functional. However, during the design phase, be sure to look at multiple design layouts that help optimize the flow of counter space. Sometimes this can make the same amount of space flow better with the rest of the kitchen, making it seem like you have more. For example, I recently had a consultation client who was trying to add more counter space. They were trying to make an island work, but it was just on the verge of being something that was forced. Meaning it really didn't fit, but you could get away with it if you really needed to. After looking at the measurements and the layout, I helped them decide that a peninsula would be a much better option. It created the extra counter space they were looking for, and it didn't jam up the kitchen workflow. This is the benefit of looking at different layout ideas to solve problems. Interestingly enough, I had another client recently who was wanting to get rid of their peninsula this time and design their new kitchen with an island. They had lots of room to do so, and of course, you know what the next question is going to be. Exactly. How big should my kitchen island be? No one ever asks how small a kitchen island can be, and if they do, it's only because they're looking for the biggest, smallest island that can possibly fit in their space. So that's your answer, the biggest island possible, but without hindering clearances. You'll also want to avoid an island size that is so big you can't reach the middle of it from one of the edges. An island should also be proportionate to the kitchen, meaning it should stay within the confines of the kitchen footprint. Otherwise, it'll feel too dominating. Also, too small of an island may not be worth the effort either. If your kitchen is smaller, forcing an island is not always the best approach, as it can become more of a hindrance than a help by interrupting traffic flow and workflow. Now, a peninsula may be a better option in cases where a small island could possibly fit. A peninsula can actually provide better flowing work surface and storage depending on the layout, like I mentioned in my previous example. Let's talk about storage again, because this question is one that I think every homeowner wishes they could ask. Should I add a walk-in pantry? Yes. Is that even a question? If you have the space for a walk-in pantry, then by all means go for it. However, do not hinder a kitchen's function and size just to add one. It's like a kitchen island. You don't want to force it. Otherwise, you'll have a small closet you call a walk-in pantry and a kitchen that pays for it in function. If this is the case, adding other storage-focused cabinets will be a better solution. Maybe a pantry cabinet will be just as efficient. Walk-in pantries also need to be designed to be functional. If you're adding one, you'll want to avoid making it a cluttered mess. So in the same way that you plan for intentional design options in your kitchen, do the same exercise in your walk-in pantry. In a renovation, adding a walk-in pantry usually means taking space from another room. This could potentially affect other aspects of your home and how you use it, so plan wisely. I also think that walk-in pantries are a great way to utilize shallow storage options. Floor-to-ceiling shallow storage is very accessible, thus making your walk-in pantry experience way more enjoyable. Now, speaking of taking space from another room, the next question will have you opening up completely to the idea, pun intended. Should I open up a wall to my kitchen? Now, I am still a fan of the open concept kitchen idea for a variety of reasons. However, they're not for everyone, and you should only consider this option if you're okay with your kitchen being on full display all the time. Not only is there the obvious visual bleed, but there's also a considerable noise bleed which some are not prepared for and can find disruptive. The sink, the vent hood, the dishwasher, and even the fridge can add considerable unprepared for volume to your adjacent seating area while you're trying to solve the next Wheel of Fortune puzzle. Pat, I'd like to solve the puzzle.
Country roads take me home.
That's right.
Sometimes taking down a wall may limit your design. Walls are important in kitchen design, especially for layout planning. Removing a wall could be a disastrous move if the flow and function of your kitchen will be limited because of it. This is especially important for appliances like wall ovens or combo ovens, appliances that need more wall space and not less. You'll want to work with a designer who can walk you through all the possible consequences, both good and bad, before you take your sledgehammer to that wall. I do love the open concept idea, but accessibility and efficiency, storage capacity and workflow all come first. Now, why would you want to remove a wall in the first place? It's because this question gets asked from a lot of homeowners. What is the best layout for my kitchen? While this is a very home-specific question, there are a few things to keep in mind when planning your layout. Many homes will have a few options for how the kitchen can be laid out. For instance, you may be able to have an L-shaped kitchen with a peninsula, but also a one-wall kitchen with an island, and it could be hard to choose. However, when you see both floor plan options and consider the workflows and other details of each, you'll likely discover that one meets your specific needs more than the other. The L shape will connect counter spaces, potentially improving workflow. However, it adds a corner which could hinder optimal storage use. The one-wall kitchen, on the other hand, might improve storage use and open up traffic flow, but it could impede workflow depending on appliance placement. Did I mention how important intentional design planning was? As important as it all is, if you can't see what you're doing, this will all be a waste. So watch this video next to make sure you know how to properly light your kitchen.